What's going on, Packers fans? Happy Saturday. Welcome into an all-new episode of the Pack-A-Day podcast. I'm your host, Andy Herman. You can follow me on Twitter at Andy Herman NFL. You can follow the podcast at Pack-A-Day Podcast. Hope your weekend is treating you well. We are getting set for Packers Cowboys Sunday Night Football. In just a moment, we're going to get to an unbelievable breakdown by Mike Wahle for everything that you need to know about Packers Cowboys this upcoming Sunday. It is going to be a must-watch, so make sure to stick around and check that out. Before we get there, a couple things. If all things go according to plan, this is going to be a Packers victory in Jerry World on Sunday Night Football, and you're going to want to have your Luigi's Victory pizzas. Now, this week, if the Packers win, when the Packers win, I am going double pepperoni, double sausage, Big Daddy. I cannot wait for this one. Loving the extra protein. This is the Mike Wahle special. We talked about this one the other day about he wants all the protein. I'm going the Mike Wahle special, the double, quadruple protein on this one. It is delicious. I'm already waiting for it. So Packers, come through for me. Make it a win so I can have the victory pizza. They always taste a little bit better. They always taste amazing, but they always taste just a little bit better coming off a victory. So stack up on your victory pizzas over at luigispizza.com and on social media at Luigi's Pizza. Also want to tell you about retirewithryan.net, Alchemy Wealth Management. Get your finances in order. Get your retirement set. What are you waiting for? Ryan is easy to work with. This is a no pressure situation and it is a free consultation. Nothing is free. This is free. Do you want to know why it's free? Because he loves Pack-A-Day and wanted to reward Pack-A-Day listeners. So check him out over at retirewithryan.net. The link is in the show description and get that free consultation today. There's also free literature out there for you if you want to check that out instead. Don't want to do the whole consultation thing. This is the way to get your retirement started in the right way or continue it in the right direction. I'll say it one more time, retirewithryan.net. Appreciate you guys. Enjoy today's episode with Mike Wahle. You're not going to want to miss it. Starting right now.
All right, guys, welcome back. I'm Mike Wahle, host of Block Party. We're here with our Dallas Cowboys preview against our beloved Green Bay Packers. The Dallas Cowboys are coming in at 1-2. They're 6.5-point underdogs. You know, I want to get to the film right away, give you guys as much film and kind of insight to how this game I think is going to play out as possible. The Dallas Cowboys are – this game is going to come down to, very simply, in my opinion, how much time has Jordan Love had to throw? When you look at the Dallas Cowboys pass defense right now, they are dead last in the league at 280 yards passing a game. And the reason why is they hit no pass rush. They trade Micah Parsons to us. They get Kenny Clark back. He's a great run player. They're averaging, 3.7 yards per carry? Pretty good, right? Except there is all day to pass. Caleb Williams could have, made a loaf of bread back there, but by the time he got done with everything. And you can throw the ball all around the yard. You got all your deep stuff. It looks like a 7-step drop back clinic, right? And there's a bunch of stuff we'll get into of how that affects not only the passing game, but also what you can do in the screen and the run game, the quarterback run game. Offensively, look, I really am excited to watch these 3 first-round draft picks kind of play together with the Dallas Cowboys. It is always about Dak Prescott, certainly, but what they're trying to do is establish the run. They're averaging over almost 5.5 yards a carry. They're still pretty good on offense. They're 10th in the league right now, going after 3 games. But again, the real question here is: are you able to get pressure on Dak Prescott? And how are the Dallas Cowboys able to get pressure on Jordan Love, if at all? So I think that those 2 questions are going to be the key to the game. This is going to be a fun one. Let's go check out the tape. Okay, Dallas Cowboys defense. First and foremost, these guys are very, very basic when you look at kind of what they're bringing to the table as far as defensive structures. You just see a lot of, against 12, you're going to see 43. They like to play single high, rotate a safety. They'll play some match coverages, but really this game is going to be about the amount of time that Jordan Love has to throw. You see this first play with under center play action, and this is going to be the theme of the day, particularly if they run under center, if they pull a guard, even their drop back against 4. They got rid of Micah Parsons. They brought in Kenny Clark. Kenny is a great run player, and they're decent against the run. We're going to see some double teams that are advantageous for the Packers on this film, but they do not rush the passer very well. There is all kinds of time, and because of that, especially because they like to run a lot of rotational safety stuff, these guys on the back end are exposed. And I think this first play of the game, under center play action, all day to throw. They end up not making this this throw, and we'll see this concept from the Bears a couple times where they go vertical with one, they go the 7 with the 2, and then they just try to put that flat player kind of in a conflict situation here where, can you be right trying to cover both? The corner here does a good job of coming off, and they won't play some of this match stuff that you see in defenses all across the country now. But the real name of the game here is just how much time they have to throw. And going back to the end zone copy, we look at under center here. They're in 12 personnel. I want to point this out. You get a lot of this look where you get the 7 tech, and because of the way they play, and you understand the safety rotation already, meaning that this player over here that's just slightly half in the screen has to go back. It gives you an idea of how to block kind of every play. So the line, it makes the calls very easy for the line. They show a lot of stuff early. Yeah, they will bail, but it's pretty consistent. So that comes up in the running game a little bit. But just let's watch what happens here with the under center play action. You've got 2 double teams that really aren't thinking about pass rush at all. We've got a read player first here, and then you've got Cole Kmet, your tight end, blocking, what is, I guess, the Parsons replacement or their answer at defensive end or edge, and they've got just, he can stand back there like a statue. So there's a couple things that go along with this. We'll talk about them in time here. Okay, there's a holding on this call, but I still want to show. They go from wing and shift over, and this is what I was talking about on the last play. You just get this really advantageous system here where I'm going to end up getting 3 doubles, and then here I've got a 9 tech who can slant, but you've really kind of got angles everywhere you want. We can push out here as far as where we're going. These are really good football angles if you're just trying to run your basic belly scheme, right? Now, they do have some good guys on the interior as far as Kenny Clark, but you're going to see over the course of the game there are some good double teams. And really, the Dallas Cowboys, you're not pulling any punches. They'll slant this player here. They bring it over to the line of scrimmage. You can see and read that before. You can make adjustments and make calls beforehand, particularly if you're good with your cadence. But really, this I think is going to be all set up for the play action. So you go under center here again, really shifting to the same look. And then they go in the backfield. This is 13 personnel. Meaning that we've got 1, 2, 3 tight ends in the game. And this is all set up for another play action look where you're just going to have all day to throw. They really end up running a 2-man route. So same concept as before. We're going deep. We've got the 7. We're here trying to put this player in conflict. Backer's not going to be able to hang with this. Obviously, corner goes deep. He sees that early because it is single high. They always do it. They oftentimes rotate that safety down, so you kind of get a good idea of what that's going to look like, at least on the edges. And this is a really easy pitch and catch, even though the tight end initially gets bumped off at the line of scrimmage. I'll go back to it from the end zone, though. The name of the game really is there's just nobody pressuring this quarterback. Add a under center, 13 personnel, obviously a run formation, and this looks like a run. And I think the Bears do a pretty good job of selling. And it's the little details, right? We've got everybody we got everybody in a 3-point stance. Because we have doubles everywhere but the backside. And when I say that, this is the only guy singled up, but tight end's coming back in. But you got doubles. You got doubles. You don't have a double here, but you have outside protection with the release. And the back is going that way. So, effectively, anything happens here, you're going to be able to bang out. So you really get 4 double teams on this play. It's a 2-man route, but when you're running single high, 2-man routes aren't always a bad thing if you have all day to run into the open space. And one thing you see with plays like that, just as kind of I don't know, maybe it's interesting, maybe it's not, but the quarterback is really just looking at one specific side of the field in that 2-man route. And I think for a young quarterback, that's good, but it also helps really everybody you look at as they drop out of here. You're talking about the Dallas Cowboys. It's like, look how many guys are going this way. and there's like literally nobody there, right? So this is kind of one of the, I think, smart plans by Ben Johnson, but this is also a way when you look at the Dallas Cowboys, like there's a little bit of panic. Okay, I got to get to my spots. But because he has so much time to throw, you can run into those deep occurring routes. Now we go out of gun. Looks like a 5-man rush. So they walk up the linebacker, and this is kind of as exotic as I've seen, really, when they walk up one, but really bring the other. Honestly, not that difficult to account for. All kinds of time to throw. And we'll show this play from the sideline real quick. You know, the Dallas Cowboys historically are really good at the cornerback position. You know, that we talk about all the turnovers. I think Diggs a couple of years ago, led the country in turnovers. If you did the advanced scouting on him, you also realize that he got beat for a significant amount of plays. And one of the reasons that guys get in trouble is they take these chances at the line to stab their opponent. Now this is a Duze, I think, up here from Washington, University of Washington, second-year guy. He's a good player. Tries to stab a Duze and just falls down, hands up. And these are the plays you're not really planning on scoring necessarily on that route, right? But those happen when you got defenses like Dallas has historically taking chances. We got a 1st and 10 play here out of 11 personnel. Another situation where they have so much time they can just run these deep routes. You see right here, Komet, he's going to bang out here and release. We got the guard coming over and blocking, and we're going to get a little bit of a half roll here from Caleb Williams, so just changing that launch point. But as we watch the actual routes, nothing's happening here for 15 yards. And so right now, if you're looking, this is the other thing that happens when you get kind of no pass rush. The linebackers, the only viable people to be able to make a play here are past the sticks. The quarterback's back here, and when he decides to run, we got all kinds of space, right? He could throw the check down here, but it's like, why throw the check down when I can run for 20 yards on my own? And I think this becomes part of the game plan as you build out in the game, as you see that, okay, they can't get to the quarterback. We can run these really deep crossers, deep outs, all of this kind of our set, we would just call it back in the day like our 7-step drop packages because they have all day to throw. Well, now what happens is these linebackers get so deep because they have to, because otherwise these crossing routes are open. Like if he doesn't, if he's not there, we're in bad shape. If the safety doesn't pick and if we're not here, we got the crosser here. I mean, there's just a lot of issues if you don't get that depth. And they want to just, hey, let's throw it here and we'll just tackle what we see, right? We got the outlet out here, but there's so much space here, and this becomes part of the game plan. I think if you're Green Bay, it's like, if it's not there, just go. You're going to get 10. Like you can run for the first down here, and keep yourself relatively safe, right? Jack Sanborn there from old Chicago player. Okay, we got a 1st and 10, and we're going bunch motion over. We got our 12 personnel again under center. Both guys hipped off. Now they're going to can this call. So they're canning the call. Usually when you see that by the quarterback, and then he points out the mic, right? Usually when you see the can call, and then you see his eyes, he's pointing out. I think he's pointing out here probably, or maybe he's pointing to the safety rotation down, because that happens with the motion. Then they're canning the call. Cannon means you're going to go the other side. So if they're running away from this guy, then that means they're going to bring the ball and they're going to run it down here, right? Now, it doesn't really matter for Packer fans this week, but as we see, we're going to get another advantageous position here by this tight end with that 7 tech and really have the ability to get a good double. And if we watch this play unfold from the sideline here, you like the scheme, again, really because of that 7 tech, but you get the lead blocker, you block back out on Sanborn, and you're getting like that. It's not I'm not showing you this magical play, but it's 6-7 yards. So let's take it across real quick. So we take it across. They can it. Now they bring him back. Okay, at the snap of the ball here, there's a player outside that we can't see. But we're out here for Sanborn. This angle is all the way back here. This, all the way back there. You know, this is a very, very advantageous play. Because the safety rotated down this way, we know his first step's going to be backwards. That's the Dallas Cowboys matcher. So now when he fills, we're really running on safety. Everybody still has to make their block, but as far as angles go, you can't really ask for more. You see it here. Komet kind of screws this up, and then for Sanborn ends up getting in. But like anytime you feel like you're running on a corner, you feel good about your life. Okay, this is an obvious passing play. You see that by the position of the tight end here. Like he's not going backside. Obviously, everybody's in a 2-point. We got the wide 3 techniques from Dallas. Okay, so this is where you're thinking to yourself, if you're the Dallas Cowboys, like we got to find a way to get home. They don't look like they're bringing any kind of pressure here. They're going to give you a 4-man rush and play what's in front of them. One thing I want to point out here is looks like we have man coverage. We're matching that with the running back. And they end up running him across the ball, run the screen, and now we got 2 guys out. And that guy that we were just referencing is late to the party. And so you got 1, 2, and this ends up being a monster play for Chicago. And if we just take it back, it's kind of it's a very well designed play, but you know, you just don't, as you watch the Dallas Cowboys defense, this is the reason that they struggle. I mean, is this just a very simple, boy, you got to get your stuff together? Is it that 18 wasn't supposed to carry the seam? I'm guessing it's just this linebacker not doing his job properly. But one way or another, you start watching these plays, and it's like, man, there's just meat on the bone all over the field. You know, getting Josh Jacobs the ball with 20 yards of free space, and you feel pretty good about that. All right, we got a 2nd and 5 here. They go back to their 2 tight end look. And the 2 tight end look is really great because look how basic the defense is. You see the safety rotation. They account for it. And I put this on the tape just because you can get double teams this guy. Watch in particular this look right here. You feel pretty good about that after watching the tape if you're the Green Bay Packers. Particularly Sean Ryan. I think Zach Tom might be out of this game. Let's say we bring Belton in again at 3:30. Like, you know, you feel like you can get a little bit of movement here. That's a really good job. And look, Kenny does a good job, obviously, of taking on doubles and getting low and everything. But, you know, the other thing I love here, and you know, tight end university kind of deal is like this guy does a great job right here coming down and just trying to be physical. Something we can use a little bit more of. I don't know if our tight ends won the physical battle last week. I know they usually do. Again, 4 or 5 yard football play. You know, those things stack up. It's 1st and 10. Another bunch look. All day to throw. All day to throw. And because they have all day to throw, you've got some incredibly difficult situations for these DBs. You know, you've got the end to really, we're trying to put this guy in conflict. Then you got here, the seam carries this player, and then you got your 2 outlets. And it's like, I mean, this is a really good throw by this quarterback, but you're just really, you're always challenging these players at such a depth. It's one thing if you're having the same conversation with the same route combinations and it's like 5 yards closer up. The further away you get from the ball, the more you have to run, the more space that there is, the harder it is to cover, the harder it is to kind of orientate yourself of where the ball is going to go to. If you're running your stuff this week at 18 instead of 15 because you know you're going to run, you kind of begin your 7-step package, your deeper crossers, then you know that's a whole different ball of yarn for those linebackers in particular. The safeties, hey, just get it, you know, deeper than the deepest guy kind of thing. But those backers are the guys you can really put in conflict and the situations where you just don't have a great pass rush. Let's finish the play out here. Another easy pitch and catch, really. Okay, 1st and 10. And they just used the hell out of 12 personnel this week because that box is just so clean. They get caught with eyes in the backfield. You know, it's interesting when you kind of watch some of these plays. Like, these guys are all pros, right? And they know defensive back play more than I do. But you kind of look here and you go, all right, well, you got that and that. You're the safety down, so there's the space. And you've got this outside leverage and you got eyes on quarterback. And you've just got, this is kind of a baby fake here. It does end up sucking this guy in, which is obviously a problem for the Cowboys, but it seems like a pretty easy pitch and catch here. And look at that last play again, just the lack of pass rush. I think it's tough. Here's the other option that you have, and we ran some RPOs last week. They're running this out a bunch, but this RPO is just, everybody's running this play now, right? And so they end up staying with 2 deep here. And Kmet's not even touching the defensive end. But as soon as Caleb Williams sees that, we've got a lead blocker, and then we're out the gate. We actually end up cracking and getting the tackle on the inside backer. And then now we're running on the safety who has to come down late. And these plays, when you've been torched, you can't create that pass rush. You got to get that spacing in the backfield because they're running these deeper routes. Now you've got, you've got like a 12, 15-yard head start on those safeties coming downhill. And, some of these quarterbacks, this is an easy Jordan Love. 8 yards is a fantastic run in the National Football League. These plays are always weird to me. And you see how good like Kenny Clark is here I think that's Thuney at just being able to lock out and kind of read and make those plays, right? But when it's almost like he's indecisive as you look at this defensive end. And, he's really not making either one of these plays. He's super wide. It's like, are you worried about the crack? What's going on exactly? There's not a play you're going to make there. So they don't look like they're, obviously a well-oiled machine. 2nd and 5 here. We go back and really, I like to call this, this is 11 personnel, but they have the I formation. I just put this play in here because I love this damn play. I love the way it's run. I've seen it for like the last 2 years in the National Football League. So it's a toss. It's a toss that just is really a downhill run. So they go to by the way, if you ever see this with this jam look and he's in here, you got to feel pretty good about, running some sort of, you would love to see some sort of just simple double here, pull out and just call it a day, right? Or just even double with a wham here because, man, that's not a big dude right there to be playing D-tackle. But they either run this little toss, get back in. The one thing you can say about this team is the safeties are nosy. When they're in the box, they do a good job of coming down and actually making tackles. But again, I think this whole game is going to be about whether or not the Bears have to do something different to get pressure on the quarterback. All right, so I think the most kind of interesting thing for me is really going to be their offensive line versus our defensive line. They got 3 first-round picks. I really like Tyler Guyton. I think he's going to be a great young player in this league, or he's going to be a great player in this league. Tyler Smith obviously is already off to a great start with his career, and then we got a first-round draft pick that's going to pull. So we got a down block right here that I just wanted to show you because this is, like, for me, one of the things that we have to control and we have to do really well. This is going to be another one of those teams, I think, or one of maybe the first teams because of the 3 first-round picks, and particularly 2 on the interior of the offensive line, where you're going to really get tested from a physical standpoint at the defensive tackle spot in maybe a way that, I think we were last week too with those 2 all-pros, right? But these are young, hungry guys. They're trying to prove something. They got to lean on the run game. This Dallas Cowboys offense, everybody talks about Dak Prescott, fair enough, but really, when they run the football, they're successful. And then when they have to throw the ball 60 times a game or whatever it is, I think they're leading the league in passing. And they're 1-2 for a reason. They have I think they try to pass the ball 43 or 44 times a game. It's way too much. So their inability to establish a run would be one of the keys for our success as Packers. Let's just see the 60 going at it, though. Really does a great job of driving and finishing. They have some issues here with the pull, obviously, with the Bears kind of getting in really tight and getting underneath this. But that kind of movement is a problem. Got a second down play here with a wing look, 12 personnel under center. And we know they like to run under center play action, but we just got a lot of eye candy here. So one thing that happens, these teams will figure out if this fast motion is going to make him go over the top, or they're just going to bump, right? And once you understand that, you understand where the inserts are going to be. So it makes it easy for the line to make calls, maybe as part of the game plan. These guys can double team. I mean, look at it from the sideline. Watch the action right here. And I don't think the Bears defensive line is any kind of, world beaters, but I mean, that's what you call movement. That's embarrassing. Now, the expectation would be obviously that we can hold up a little bit better than this. But that right tackle and that guard are putting some work in. And, that 49, Edwards from, I think he used to play for Buffalo, he doesn't have anything really to do here. They go backside with the split flow. They cut Montez Sweat, and then you got problems. All right. Okay, we got under center again. 12 personnel. Belly play. Kind of got everything you want here. Are we going to run this? This almost looks like a jam look. I might be inclined to call this player over here a 4-eye. But you're going to get your doubles here if you want them. There's going to be one single block, probably play side, unless they decide to go duo inside here. Let's see how this one plays out. But this is the name of the game. Can you stop them on first down? And this is some of the stuff that you see out of their line. You watch Tyler Smith. I just pointed out this defensive tackle, but watch the guard. A little bit sloppy with their footwork at times, trying to position block, put yourself in a bad position. Obviously, the back kind of makes them right here because they do a decent job on the double team. You don't love the pad level at the right guard position. He steps underneath himself. Step underneath yourself, you got bad leverage. So the Bears do a pretty good job, I think, of put those guys horizontal, not allowing for any penetration.
Hey friends, it's time to start getting our sleeper picks in for week 4. Vikings, Steelers, our first international game of the year. I think this one's going to be a defensive struggle, so I'm going to be going fewer on a lot of these categories, including Aaron Rodgers, fewer than 202.5 passing yards. I think this Vikings defense is going to be all over Aaron Rodgers, and I think passing the football is going to be extremely difficult in this game. Meanwhile, Jordan Mason, less than 79.5 rushing yards. To me, this Steelers defense is going to make Carson Wentz beat them and make sure that Jordan Mason is not getting the requisite yardage to need to get a win internationally. So I'm going Jordan Mason, fewer than 79.5 rushing yards. And last but not least, Justin Jefferson, more than 5.5 receptions. This is the one that I'm making an exception on for what I believe is going to be a defensive struggle. I think Minnesota is going to feed Justin Jefferson, get him involved early and often, and make him the star of that Sunday morning international game. Just to recap, Aaron Rodgers, fewer than 202.5 passing yards, Jordan Mason, fewer than 79.5 rushing yards, and Justin Jefferson, more than 5.5 receptions. Make sure to get your picks in over on Sleeper. You can get a 100% match up to $100 by using code PACKET. Again, a 100% match up to $100 by utilizing code PACKET. Make sure to use that code. Check it out over on Sleeper. And make sure that you understand that terms and conditions can apply. So check out those terms and conditions over on Sleeper. It is available in over 25 states. So what are you waiting for? Get after it right now.
This will be kind of the name of the game. Again, on first and second down, are we able to get in that position and really make a play? We'd love to see that guy stop for a tackle for 0 yards or a much, much shorter break. But Now we're back to the under center play action. They go shift. They go across. Looks like the split flow. Gets everybody to bite. And they just don't have great separation downfield, so they got to hit the check down. But a lot of teams now are just playing the long game with this check down stuff. You expect the Packers to play the same. This is kind of what they've done. The question will be, obviously, do they have answers for our dogs and our blitzes? You look at here again. They do a very good job covering up. So you look at this play, and this is kind of a feast and famine team. Here's something interesting that we talked about on the last show. So you see this. So now the guard is responsible for understanding when to hike the ball here. So the center can see what's going on, flashes. Now everybody gets set and they can go. Anytime you get a defensive lineman on the ground, you're going to be in good shape. You watch, now I remember why I put this play on. This kid is ridiculously strong. Watch his hands here. Gets his hands tight. Again, we're not talking about the best D lineman in the world, but just absolutely moving him off the spot like a highlight reel. At a 13 or 22. Looks like that's 22 with that fullback. And they run the lead. Under center, just sets up for some stuff that I think later on in the game, if they can find success here. So this is what they want to feature. They want to get under and try to get some double teams, try to get some movement. And the reality is, it's feast or famine. Sometimes they're fantastic at it. Sometimes they don't do as good of a job. I don't think their center is a great player, quite frankly. I think we can have some success there as far as getting across his face, getting some penetration, beating him on the edge when he's single blocking. I don't know that this play is specifically any kind of indicator for that. You see what they're doing here down. These are always interesting plays to me. We do this as with the Green Bay Packers, but you can just right off the line here, they'll do a little fake to try to get him to hesitate so that when we come across, we just get a clean shot and he's not sitting there waiting up or trying to close that space. So they get everything they want here. Edmonds comes in and just kind of blows the play up. Obviously expect Quay or Coop or any of those guys to come in, McDuffie, and have the same kind of success. Watching from the backside here. I like the split. You just kind of think about, what's heady about this play? Well, the split between the tight end and the tackler really kind of forces him to stay wide one and then just keeps eyes on because there's always an opportunity to block, to crack, to do something else, to bang out if it's a pass rush, right? So it just keeps that defensive end's mind occupied a little bit more. And you've kind of got what you want as far as the double teams go. They're going to bring that safety into the box. You assume that they're going to go ahead and try to release the tight end for him. But really it's a question of, can you get some really good movement on that 3 technique and create kind of a two-way go? A lot of these kind of turn into like A gap or B gap, C gap plays, right? A lot of teams now are running the power stuff downhill at the A gap. We used to run it out to the B or C, depending on the look. But they like that backside play if the nose tackle goes over the top. 1st and 10 here. They go motion to bunch, bring him back for the end around, little gadget play. And I'll just show this once or twice. It's kind of interesting how they run this. And this is where you kind of think, well, what kind of operation are we doing here? You watch Guyton at the top. Guyton's hinging and to kind of leave the guy outside. Now it ends up working out because, and I'll show it, I think this is Ferguson coming across. It's fun to watch. Is this Ferguson in motion? Up. Is there one of the other tight ends? Watch this. Just takes 2 here. Ends up making something out of nothing. But gadget plays are part of their offense. Certainly, they always have been. Maybe more so than we're used to seeing in the last couple of weeks. But look, just being a sound defense, fast flying to the football. There's a lot of indicators here. And I think the one thing that's difficult on that play in particular is like the hinge on the backside kind of leaves that defensive end wide open. This looks like they're just running another power play, bringing that fullback back to be the second lead or the wrap player. And this is kind of more what I'm used to seeing in talking about I'll show this from the end zone, of how the running back's initial path is. We were just talking about an A-gap track. Now you look at this play, and this back he's gonna take a counter step, and then he's gonna follow that wrapper, right? So let me just fast forward this. So as we come back here, now he's following take that counter, following this wrapper as he goes. If this opens up, he can go here, he can go here, and if that defensive end went that way, he can actually cut it all the way back, right? That's why Edmonds is kind of sitting here going, I'm not ready to leave just yet. That's a great run. They used to, like Amon would used to hit that run every once in a while, but generally you were just trying to pop that off the tackle or that double team block and then kind of follow the wrapper. It's funny over the course of years because a lot of guys would they have an actual name for the stunt, but they would try to wrap that nose tackle. They would effectively, as soon as this guy blocked back, they would just pick and play over with the nose tackle. Right? Or if this guy was getting doubled and he'd get picked back, he would immediately try to stunt over. It would be part of the play based on the formation and the personnel group. So what guys ended up doing was now saying, well, let's just aim it at the A-gap here because now this is really easy if he plays back. And if it's not, then we'll just bounce it. Now they don't get the same kind of momentum, right? So the angles maybe aren't as good when you actually hit this hole. But if you're just looking for this one, plus these linebackers usually like to play over the top. They'll play a little, we call that like fill and spill over the top, and then more often than not, you just kind of have this gap in that play side A gap. So a lot of teams are running it this way. I obviously I'm old school. I like watching this stuff a little bit more, but then you see the cut and see why it's so effective. All right, we got 1st and 10. Motion across, another under center. This just, in my opinion, I love the revival of the under center stuff now because the distance for the running back to get to the line of scrimmage changes. The angle for the running back to get to the line of scrimmage changes. The optionality for the quarterback changes as far as what they can do at the line of scrimmage. And the play action, you just remember Peyton Manning with those long, wide zone, showing the ball play actions and how difficult it was to be right if you were the safety back in the day. And it's really, for me, it's a lost art. I love watching it. So they go shift and come back and end up running this really just strong side belly again with another split flow look. Now, you see the Cowboys like to throw on the backside. I'm sure Rashawn Gary and Parsons will be watching that closely. And always a question when you look at that is how fast or how tight, maybe more so, when you see this guy go, how tight can we get to his hip so that this guy really can't run that split flow effectively? But they get some good doubles here. Center gets actually to getting part of two of them. They want to play a physical brand of football. They want to be a downhill football team. You got a 2-eye off of the left guard. You should be able to get a double here with the tackle. He got a single block. You see how, again, I just appreciate from a line play standpoint or a physicality standpoint, this kid has, this kid's got some good bend, right? He's got some good bend, and he plays with a lot of power. Now, there's some technical stuff that we'll see that you can beat him with. I don't know where he's opening up to, but we're going to end up getting a double here. That's pretty good. Backside, good start of the double team. Edwards. God, I can't remember if it's Edmonds or Edwards, 49. Plays underneath the tackle. That should never happen. But they're getting guys moving horizontally. They're getting guys off their spot, making it difficult for those linebackers. Trying to finish the play at the top. You saw that. Love it. 1st and 10 play, just 11 personnel, out of gun. Always want to shift. I don't know if they're shifting for any particular reason, generally speaking, if they're trying to kind of cheat the system as far as where the slide's going to be, where the protection's going. In this case, it looks like it's going to be a little bit of a half roll with the center pull, or excuse me, the guard pull. So another play action look. Running 4 verts, it looks like. And look, one thing Dak Prescott can do is wing it. And if you watch this play, kind of watching the slot here, the safety, you guys, it's just out of the pocket. Safety goes wide, and you look at the seam is wide ass open. Obviously, he's kind of got options all over, but really this right side he chose wisely because of the depth. They're running 2 over here for the Bears, and so they're immediately trying to throw it in the space here. Gets hit, and I think if we looked at this backside, I think this is the center getting beat, and this is always something where you're just kind of looking for opportunities. When the guard pulls, you get north, beat his hands, get the man. Dak ends up making a great throw, but he pays for it. And as I watch this center, though, I feel pretty good that I think we can make some hay there. Okay, 1st and 10 play again. Just a simple 2x2. Bears really bring 5. End up getting the sack. We look downfield. A lot of coverage. Now you've got the smash route up top there. He's wide open. Doesn't see it. We go to the end zone copy. I think that's Montez Sweat. You guys, if you've ever watched this show before, and if I see that foot pointed towards the sideline, I'm kind of almost wishing he loses because I think it's such a kind of mechanical mistake. But that's just a good football player beating another football player. Gets those vertical feet, catches, helmet in, no punch. Oh. Do a good job here. The Bears decide to bring 5 just to make sure that Sweat can get on his own. There's plays to be made there sometimes. Your eyes aren't right as a quarterback, but this is kind of the hope sometimes, especially with our defensive pressure. Now, we don't ever really just bring, when you kind of look at this rush, it's like, man, this is a very basic rush. Like, the expectation is, we got 3 to a side. We bring up both linebackers. They're pick stunning or doing something. It's a lot more exotic. It's more exciting. They come from depth. They're trying to knock out the center here. So there's a lot more action. This is kind of, basic wins sometimes when you got a Montez Sweat or a Myles Garrett on your team, but you start creating some of those different pressures with those linebackers. And the one thing that you got to say about Green Bay, and the last thing I'll say before we get off this tape is, like, remember, our linebackers are really, really good at bringing pressure. So we have the advantage of, we could let Micah Parsons be on his own, put those linebackers on the other side, and just try to isolate him, right? And then run some stunts on the other side. Or as we saw last week, when we just put those guys up in like the A or B gap and they start to account for them, or we just invert where the linebackers are going to be at the line of scrimmage, sometimes they leave a guy like Rashawn Gary unblocked. And when you leave that guy unblocked, his stats are going to look pretty good. But that next contract's going to look even fatter. So as you can see, very basic on defense. They don't generate a pass rush. You can run the deep stuff all day, and they're susceptible to the play action pass. I think that's going to end up opening some things up for the quarterback run game. I think that's going to end up opening some things up from, obviously from Josh Jacobs. Really, what can we do in the screen? And we saw it on a couple of clips there as well. They are passing the ball in offense more than anybody in the league, and they're 31st in the league in turnover margin. I think they're giving up almost 2 turnovers more to the opposing team every single week. Now, obviously, it's young in the season. I'm sure they're going to clean some of that stuff up. But you don't see a lot of kind of, let's just say, for the lack of a better term, dynamic play calling from this team. And a team that, quite frankly, on both sides of the football needs it because they don't have star players in certain positions like you would expect some of the Dallas Cowboys defenses and offenses to have. So I think it's going to be a fun matchup. The 6.5 points feels really good. I don't know where to go with the over-under. I think it's 47.5. But listen, I think the Packers win this one. I think they reestablish their offensive and defensive lines. I think this is a really good test in that manner for both those sides of the football, because it really does come down to how well those sides play and how we can pick up what I think is going to be some necessary evil pressure from the Dallas Cowboys, at least against our offensive line. So I hope you enjoyed it. Please hit the subscribe button, rate and review us. Thanks to everybody who's watching. Keep bringing your questions. Enjoy the weekend, guys, and we'll get to you next week.